Before I begin the actual content of this video, I'd like to make a short disclaimer. This channel is not, nor shall it ever be, a forum for political statements. Unfortunately, the W125, Auto Union Type C, and their derivative vehicles were developed and operated in a uniquely politically charged environment for the world of motorsport, one that has become far more fraught with controversy by proxy in hindsight. The release of both of these videos was intended to coincide with the 85th anniversary of the record-setting run by the W125 Streamliner, and in commemoration of the death of Bernd Rosmeier. But, in respect for yesterday's commemoration of the victims of National Socialism, I would like to state, in no uncertain or equivocal terms, my antipathy towards totalitarianism in all its forms, and a particular sympathy for those who lost their lives under the National Socialist regime. The course of human progress is dependent on the preservation and expansion of individual liberties. The oppression of individuals based on their race, beliefs, or creed, or in pursuit of nebulous societal goals, is antithetical to those aims and the gateway to tyranny. With that, the content of this video and the admiration expressed for the engineering and technology involved should not be interpreted in any sense as a statement of support for the ideology or policies of National Socialism, or an attempt to justify even an iota of the actions promulgated as a result. Following success in its only competition season, the 1937 W125 became a racer without a cause, victim of its own success and new regulations. So, the creative chaps at Mercedes, looking to maximize on having such a powerful car, the government provided funding to run it, and nowhere to go, decided to start record hunting instead. Streamlining the W125 for races on long, high-speed tracks like the Avus had enabled it to reach speeds approaching 200 miles an hour, and from this, the idea for an even more aerodynamic, no-holds-barred speed demon took shape. Unbound by Grand Prix weight limits, the excellent M125 Straight 8 was removed and replaced with an 8-liter, twin-supercharged V12 that facilitated a better aerodynamic profile and increased the vehicle's power to 755 horsepower. Unlike the streamed racing body panels for runs on the Avus, the new shell for the W125 gave it a shape more akin to a paver or a brick of red Leicester than that of a high-performance formula racer. With air intakes greatly decreased in size over the Grand Prix car, and a larger engine, the cooling system had to be augmented with ice to ensure the engine did not overheat during its attempts at the highway speed record. Nonetheless, the speeding block of cheese went through several test runs and mechanical refinements in the lead-up to its record attempt on January 8, 1938. On a breezy Friday morning on the newly constructed Reichsautobahn between Frankfurt and Darmstadt, Rudolf Caracciola posted an average speed of 268 miles an hour, or 433 kilometers an hour, over a flying kilometer, a speed record for public roads that stood until November 2017, when it was broken by Nicholas Lilja, who drove a Koenigsegg Agera RS to 277 miles an hour in the deserts of Nevada. The W125 Rekordwagen was not the only Reich-funded racing and record-breaking project in development at the time, however. Mercedes' main rival in the Grand Prix field, Auto Union, had also adapted their similarly superannuated, Porsche-designed V16 Type C racer for a pursuit of the same highway speed record. Sporting a similarly streamlined body, but falling short on power output by comparison, a mere 545 horsepower versus the 755 of the W125's new V12, the Type C Stromlinie was nonetheless well poised for a shootout with the W125 to determine who was the Kaiser of the highways. Later the same day, and on the same section of road as Caracciola record-breaking run, Auto Union factory driver and unwilling darling of the Nazi Party, Bernd Rosmeier, set off on his first attempt to wrest history away from Mercedes and Caracciola. However, his first run came in several miles an hour lower than the high mark set earlier in the day, and despite caution from the assembled Auto Union mechanics, engineers, and management about dangerously high wind speeds, he undertook another run in pursuit of the record. It was unfortunately this attempt that brought his demise. At some point during the run, at speeds estimated to have been very near or even past the established record, Rosemeyer experienced a loss of control, likely due to an exceptionally powerful gust of wind, and careened off into the surrounding countryside, costing the racing world one of its brightest sparks of the time. He was only 28 years old. At the time, there was also something of an undeclared international competition for the absolute land speed record, with the British leading the way through a series of custom projects, largely undertaken by Malcolm Campbell and his various constructions named Bluebird. Throughout the late 1920s and 1930s, others would occasionally break one of Campbell's records, only for him to return and push faster still, either with a newly engineered vehicle, an improvement of a previous one, or through a change in venue. His choice in 1935 to relocate from the hard-packed sands of Daytona Beach, Florida, to the Bonneville Salt Flats saw him push past the 300 mile an hour, or 480 kph, barrier for the first time, besting his previous record by nearly 25 miles an hour, with 36.7 liters of supercharged Rolls-Royce power at his command. By the end of 1937, however, another Brit, George Easton, had found a further 10 miles an hour in his Thunderbolt, pushing the record to 311 miles an hour, or 501 kph. At this point, Ferdinand Porsche, again with Reich funding and now Mercedes manufacturing support, decided that he was interested in throwing his proverbial Pickelhaube into the ring and designed a vehicle that blurred the lines between automobile and aircraft, the T-80. With another world-class driver, Hans Stuck, signed up to pilot the vehicle, their initial goal was a top speed of 342 miles an hour, or 550 kph, propelled by a Daimler-Benz V12 Aero engine, shanghaied from the Messerschmitt Bf 109, and increased in capacity to 44.5 liters. This engine, producing north of 3,000 horsepower when fueled with yet another heady German brew of alcohol, benzene, and acetone, was intended to drive a six-wheeled Leviathan, weighing over 3 tons, to speeds eventually intended to exceed 750 kilometers an hour, as the British pushed the world speed record even higher. While an attempt on the record was planned for January 1940, 2 years after Rosemeyer's untimely death, the invasion of Poland on September 1, 1939, canceled any such pursuits, and the T-80 was hidden away in a garage in Austria until after the war. As with so many things, it was a great loss to never see the T-80 make an attempt at the world land speed record, as such an attempt would probably have looked something like this.
Ludicrous speed! Go! Hell was that?
The T-80, the W125 Rekordwagen, and the W125 Grand Prix car that kicked the whole thing off are all on permanent display at the Mercedes-Benz Museum in Stuttgart, although the W125 Grand Prix racer does make occasional appearances at events such as the Goodwood Festival of Speed. Several Auto Union Type Cs also survived the war, and are maintained and displayed at the Audi Museum in Ingolstadt. Though Bernd Rosemeyer's Streamliner was never rebuilt after his crash, a replica was commissioned in 2000 and built, and has been showcased at auto shows and the Goodwood Festival of Speed.